We were discussing on polymorphism, and we have covered static as well as dynamic polymorphism. Now let us move to the abstract classes. Now in simple, okay, now moving back to this example, the transaction what we have discussed yesterday. Now over here you have defined an execute method. Over here if you see, you have defined the execute method. So when we have defined this execute method, did we define it? Did we write the code? We can't see. Okay, sorry, the screen. Thanks. If you see over here, we have defined the execute method. So did we define anything? Do you find the code for that execute method? Did we define the code for the execute method in the transaction class? View full screen. I hope it is visible now. Now you've got the execute method over here. You have defined the code for this. You have defined the code over here. Can we define the code for execute method? We know that this functionality is there with withdrawal and the deposit class. Okay, that is executed as a part of the transaction, but can we define it? We have defined it, but did we write any code, anything plus, minus, any operation are we doing on line number 7? Roma says yes. Roma, do you find any code on line number 7 for the execute method? Any logic, business logic? Any subtraction, addition, deletion, multiplication, anything, any XYZ code? Correct? Okay, Hira says no. Now look, if you observe, you're not writing any code because you feel there is some generic logic for executing any common logic, or like each transaction will have its different logic. You feel that all the transactions will have some logic in common for executing, or each transaction will have its different logic, that is based on the requirement you may either subtract or you may either add. What do you feel?
Based on the requirements, they would have different codes.
Correct. Perfect. Based on the requirement, okay, they will have different codes. So in this case, you cannot define execute functionality for the execute method at this point of time. By this, we come to the conclusion that you cannot define the functionality for the execute method at this point of time. So in this case, if you cannot define the functionality for the method at this point of time, then these are called as abstract methods. That is, you cannot define the behavior for the method. We cannot define the behavior for the method. If you cannot define the behavior for the method, then you just mark it as abstract. Means we don't have now in a class. If you have an abstract method in a class, if you have the abstract method, then the class should also be marked as abstract. Clear with this? If a class has got abstract method, then the class should also be marked as abstract. Now for the abstract methods, you don't have to bother. And for the abstract class, you cannot create an instance. You cannot create an instance. That is, you're not specific about the object that will be created at runtime. Transaction. If you're creating, that is, what type of transaction? Is it a withdrawal or a deposit transaction? If you say transaction T is equal to new transaction, then what type of transaction it is? If you say deposit is equal to new deposit, you know you want to perform transaction related to new deposit. If you say withdrawal W is equal to withdrawal, then it is clear that you want to withdraw some amount. Now if I say transaction is equal to new transaction, what transaction I want to do? Is it clear now? So can you just let me know what transaction I want to do on
Excuse
line
me,
number
I can't
34?
hear.
If I
There's
write this
too much
code,
background noise.
what transaction you want me to
clear the
perform
background noise?
on line number 34? Roma, can you just help me know what type of transaction I want to do when I am creating the object of transaction on line number 34?
મમ્મી લોકો તમે બોલશો તો મને
Is it an is it a deposit or a withdrawal or something on anything or something other in specific?
transaction deposit.
Can you specify what type of transaction we want to do on line number 34? Kira, can you say what type of transaction, when we are creating an object of transaction T is equal to new transaction, what type of transaction we want to perform?
I'm sorry, I couldn't
You
hear
want to
you.
perform withdrawal or update? Which transaction?
There's the animal in the back. The chicken.
Hello?
Can you just give your views?
Hello?
Did she kick you off?
Now you cannot be specific at this point of time what transaction you want to perform. You don't know, like because the class is declared as abstract, it does not let you create the object because no, I cannot hear you. 1 minute. Okay, can you please repeat? Hira, can you please repeat your question?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I was saying when you were asking me, I couldn't really hear you. I didn't hear you for about 3 minutes. It was there was too much noise in the back.
Okay, fine. Now I repeat the question. Now if you say on this, like at line number 34, transaction T is equal to new transaction. Now when you are creating a transaction object at runtime, what type of transaction you want to do? Can you decide what type of transaction you want to perform? If you're just creating a transaction object. Deposit means it is clear we want to do some deposit the amount. Withdrawal, again, it is clear that we want to withdraw some money. But if you say transaction T is equal to new transaction, what do you want to do? What do you really want to do? Is it like deposit or withdrawal?
It would depend on the situation.
Correct. It will depend on the situation, but for this transaction object, you cannot say.
Right.
Right? So you cannot be specific for this. It doesn't give you any meaning what transaction you want to do. As you said, it is specific. For specific purpose, you have got deposit, And then for withdrawal, again it is specific. You have got withdrawal. Because you cannot be specific, that is the reason the system will not let you create the object. Because we are not specific about the behavior. We are not specific about the behavior. We don't know how this method will execute. We don't have any idea how this method will execute. We are not specific, or we don't know how the object will behave at runtime. So that is the reason the compiler will not let you create the object for the transaction class. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the classes that provide, this is the withdrawal class that is providing the implementation for the transaction. So this class is called, the first one, this is called as abstract class, and the classes that are providing the implementation for the execute method, these are called as concrete classes. This class is called as concrete class. Clear with this? The classes that are providing implementation for the abstract classes are called as concrete classes. Is the term clear, concrete? Is the term concrete clear to one and all? Okay, fine. Hira says yes. Roma and Zahid, is the term concrete clear? Okay, fine. And abstract method is the one that does not have any implementation. Let's say now for withdrawal as well as deposit, you want to print the receipt. For both the transactions, I want to print the receipt. So public void print receipt. System.out.println. You can just print all the details, whatever you want, and the real-time scenario. For this, for learning purpose, I'm just printing account number and the balance. System.out.println, and then the remaining balance. You can print transaction date, transaction ID, etc., etc., etc. I'm just printing these two. Now look, your abstract class, it can have two types of method. The methods that have the body and the methods without body. The methods without body, they are called as abstract methods, and the methods with the body are called as concrete methods. These are called as concrete methods because they have got implementation. We are defining the body. So this is called as concrete method. Clear on this? Any doubt on this? Is the abstract, okay fine, Hira says no. Zahid, Roma and Manjal, is it clear? Concrete methods. Okay, fine. Now next what we have got is, so you've got this as well as this method. So the code that is common to all the classes, you can define it in the abstract class, and it is accessible from the base class, or it is inherited by your child classes. I can say over here, after d.execute, I can say d.print receipt. So it is accessible because it is inherited. Enter the amount for deposit 200. So balance is equal to 5200. This is the receipt. This is the receipt what it is printing. So the code is accessible. Now let me just right click, code folds, collapse. Okay, let me come back to this. Now let us write a function called public static void print. Let's say if you click onto the print button, then it should call this. Transaction T. Now that is what we want, is if you're calling the print function, it should call this method, print method. If you're clicking or if you are pressing the print button, then it should call this print receipt function. Let me remove the comments for this code. Now after you do this, I will call print of W. And then again I'll call print of D. Let us print as system.out.println. Right click and then run file. So this is for withdrawal, and okay fine, this is for deposit. Enter the amount 3000. Now amount has been deposited. Now the point what we have to observe over here is this print function, it is calling which one? So what is the object what you're passing? What are you passing to this function? To this function, what are we passing? Are you passing an object of withdrawal class, or you are passing an object of transaction? Correct, you're passing an object of transaction. But in real time, which object you are passing? That is at runtime, you're passing withdrawal object or transaction object. Now, if you observe this, correct, Zahid, you're passing withdrawal object. Okay, fine. Now, this is the second case. In this second case, again, you are passing this. So now in the second time, which object you are passing? In the second case. In the first case, yes, withdrawal object, yes, correct, absolutely correct. In the second case, you're passing the deposit object. That is correct. Yeah, Roma, correct, deposit. You're passing the deposit object. So this transaction function, it is handling how many objects? This transaction, this reference variable, it is handling how many? Correct. So we said this correct. Zahid and Roma, both of you are correct. It is handling 2. We discussed about polymorphism, many forms. So this transaction object is handling how many forms? 2 forms. Correct. This transaction object has got 2 forms. In one form, it exists as withdrawal. In the another form, it exists as deposit. So this is called as polymorphic arguments. That is, you need not write a print function for each subclass. This transaction, it is your superclass. It can handle the transaction as well as all its subclasses. Clear with this? You have got a class called transaction, and it has got 2 subclasses. One is withdrawal. We are not calling that, we have come in. Okay, t.print receipt. Okay, fine, 1 minute. I'll come to that. One is withdrawal, second one is deposit. One is withdrawal, and let me erase this. Oh shit. So you've got a class called transaction, and it has got 2 subclasses. One is your withdrawal class, and the second one you have got as deposit class. Clear? Now when you say t.print receipt, Now, if you again observe in the first case, as you said, we are passing this object transaction. And from this, you're calling this t.recept. When you call this t.recept, which object you expect it to, from which class it will invoke the recept method. T.print_recept means over here the type of the object is withdrawal, so it will call the method from this class. Clear with this? And in the second case, you are passing what? This one. And when you say t.print_recept, it will call print_recept method from which class? The deposit class or withdrawal class? In the second case, you're passing a deposit object. So when you call t.print_recept, it will call the print_recept method from which class? Will it call it from the withdrawal class or it will call it from the deposit class? Correct, it will call it from the deposit class. It will call it based on the type of object. It will call based on the type of object. If it is X, it will call it from X class. Over here, if it is X, it will call it from X class. If it is Y, it will call from the Y class. If it is Z, it will call it from Z class. This is called as dynamic polymorphism. That is, at runtime, it will decide from which class it has to call. Is it clear? Okay, fine. Because first time it is withdrawal, so it will call this t.print method from the withdrawal class. Second time it is deposit, it will call print_recept method from the deposit class. So because it is deciding at runtime from which class it need to invoke the print_recept function, that is why it is called as dynamic polymorphism. That is, at runtime it is deciding from which class it has to call the method. Now coming back to this, if you see this, you have got question, and questions again they are classified into two types. One is text-based question, that is theory type question, and the second one is your MCQ, multiple choice question. So over here I repeat this one. We are discussing this portion, this part. You have got question, it is categorized into two types. One is your text-based question, that is your theory-based question. You will be given a text and you have to type the answer in paragraph, and then the multiple choice question. So from this, you have got three classes. One is question, that is your super class. The second class or the child class which we have is text-based question, and the other one what we are having is test question. So from this, which class you will make it as abstract class and which classes you will make it as concrete classes. In this activity, you have got three questions. Sorry, three classes. One is question, the second one is text-based question, the third one is test question. From this one, which one will you make it as abstract class and which one you will make it as concrete classes? Can I get quick response? Based on your understanding, can you please type in your responses? From this, which one you will make it as abstract and which one you will make it as concrete? Quick. If your test question will be concrete, yes, correct. Yes, Hira, your answer is correct. Test question will be concrete. And which one will be abstract? Text-based question will be abstract. No. Now look, this child classes are always concrete. Text-based question is also concrete. Your question class will be, yeah, correct. Now your answer is correct. This question class will be concrete, whereas test question and the text-based question will be concrete classes. Correct. Okay. And then now you have got this person, mm, this one, the one that is highlighted. So you have got person, school manager, and then the admin. So from this, which class you will make it as abstract and which class you will make it as concrete? All of them are concrete except question. All the classes are concrete except question class. Now from this, you have got person, you have got school manager, and then you have got admin. So from this, which one? Correct. Person, correct. Hira, person is abstract. And what are the concrete classes from the hierarchy? Correct. School manager and admin will be concrete. Correct. Perfect. Yes, child classes are concrete. That is, it should have the implementation for the abstract methods. If a class has got X, Y, and then Z abstract method, and if the child class is providing the implementation for X, Y, and then Z, then you call it as concrete class. Does this answer your question? It is not mandatory always child classes are abstract. How do you differentiate? Okay. No, child class, it may be concrete or it may not be concrete. So when you say that the child class is concrete is if you are providing the implementation, that is if you are writing the code for abstract methods. If you're providing the implementation code, then only it is concrete. If you're not providing the implementation for the abstract methods, then again it is abstract. Child class is not always abstract. You may have 2 to 3 levels of abstraction. Let me just Google for the diagram. Okay. Let's say you are having a class called shape, and within this shape you have got 2D, and then okay you have got 3D. Shape 2D, you have got 3D. And then you are having concrete classes under 2D triangle, rectangle, and then the circle. And over here you have got the 3D stuff, cylinder, cone, etc., etc., etc. So you have got shape over here. All the shapes, they have got dimension 1 and then dimension 2. And then you can specify like shape name. This is the stuff what they have in common. And this one is extending from this is extending from this. This one you will have volume, and for this you have got area. Oh my goodness, I'm unable to write with the mouse. You have got area for this, and for this okay you have got volume. Now for this you can be specific, you can define the area, half into breadth into height. For this you can define again length into breadth. Now over here, can you create an object for shape? So this is one class, this is second class, this is first class, this is second class, and these are again classes, rectangle, triangle. So can you create the object for shape class? If you're creating, then what type of shape it should be at runtime? Point number 1, can you create the object for shape at runtime? Can you quickly type in your responses? Whatever is your response, you can type it so that I can explain you based on your understanding. Okay, Hira says yes, you can create an object for shape. Okay, fine. If you're creating an object for shape at runtime, then what type of shape do you expect? Do you expect a 2D shape or 3D shape? What type of shape are you expecting, 2D or 3D? Why not 3D? Correct. Zaid says, okay, no, correct. You should not create an object for shape because you cannot decide what type of shape. It is a more generalized form. You should not create the object for shape because you are not specific about it, what type of shape it should be. It is a more generalized form. So level 1, you just make it as abstract. So this one, you make it as abstract. Now, the next one, what you are having is, this you are further classifying it into two types. One is 2D, second one is 3D. So one is 2D. So now my next question is, if you're creating an object for 2D shape, then what type of 2D shape you are expecting? Let's say you want to create an object for the 2D shape. Then what type of 2D shape? What type of 2D shape? Point number 1, you should not create the object for shape because you're not specific what type of shape. Then next we are further specializing it, 2D or 3D. Now coming to 2D, if I let's say I want to create an object for 2D shape, then what type of 2D shape can I expect? If I want to create an object for 2D shape, then what type of 2D shape can I expect? Can I get a response? Circle, triangle, square, etc. Okay, fine. Correct. You can either expect triangle, rectangles, a circle, but that is okay. This is specific. This is specific. This is your triangle class, and this is your rectangle class. You are being specific. I said 2D shape. What you are saying is correct, but what I said is 2D shape. For this class, what type of object you want? Okay, when it comes to this, okay, yes, it is rectangle or triangle. This is fine. But when you are at level 2, when you are at level 2, at this level, when you are at this level, then what type of object you are expecting when you are at this level? Correct. You don't know until you give the input 2D. You don't know what type of shape it is, whether it is like rectangle or triangle. So again, you cannot create it. As you said, you don't know until you give the input. So you cannot be specific. So as you cannot create an object for shape class, similar way, okay, you cannot create an object for 2D shape. Now next, coming to this one, here you can be specific. This one is specifically for rectangle, sorry, triangle. This one is specifically for triangle. So from this diagram, so what are the classes that you can identify as abstract classes? Correct. Roma, you are correct. Shape should be abstract. Shape 2D should be abstract. Correct. Roma and Zahid, both of you are correct. The shape and then the shape 2D. Both of these classes, they should be abstract. So 2D, it is a child class for shape. 2D, it is a child class for shape. So this abstraction is at two levels. This is at level 1, this is at level 2. So you may have two levels of abstraction. That is the reason we say child classes may be concrete or may not be concrete. It is not mandatory. All the child classes should be concrete. They may be concrete, they may not be concrete. Is it clear? So this is called as two levels of abstraction. This is level 1, this is level 2. And this rectangle and this triangle, these are concrete classes because you're defining, you're specifying this in specific. Now when it comes to this 3D, so you have got this the object that are not specific are abstract. The object you are saying reverse. The objects that are not specific are abstract. Yes, correct. The objects that are not specific are abstract. Now this is one class and this one is another class. And this one is extending from this. This one is extending from this. So over here, now if you have decided to create an object for this shape 3D, then can you create an object for 3D shape? If in case if you're creating, then what type of 3D shape you expect at runtime for this 3D? The same story. Can you create an object for shape 3D? For this, no, correct. Because you're not specific. Correct. Rome also says no. And then, okay, these are specific classes. One is cylinder, the other one is cone. So for this, you'll have the implementation for volume. Volume is L into B into H. Now you can be specific for this. L into B into H. And for this, again, have 1 by 3 into pi r square H. So got it? Abstract and the concrete classes. So this one, this is your concrete class and this one is your abstract classes. This is abstract. This is also abstract. And this one is also abstract. Whereas this is concrete. This is a concrete class. This is concrete. Is it clear? Any doubts in this? Can we proceed? Okay, fine. So your assignment is, oh my goodness, let me clear this. Now you have already identified the abstract classes from this figure. Just mark this class as abstract, and school manager, admin, teacher, and I guess student. Person is an abstract class, school manager, admin, student, and teacher. These are all concrete classes. And from this, question is the abstract class, text-based question, and test question. These are two concrete classes. Please hold on for a second. Kion, what is the question? Question is, you need to write the code for this. This is the class diagram. So this one, it has got two assignments. For this part, you need to write the code. This one is your abstract class, text-based question, and test question. These are two abstract classes. Sorry, this is abstract, text-based question, and test question. These are two concrete classes. And for this, person is the abstract class, school manager, admin, teacher, and then the student. These are all concrete classes. So you need to write, this is the logical design what we have, and you need to write the code for this. Is it clear? Does this answer your question, Roma? Okay, fine, sure. The next concept what we have got is interfaces. Now, as we have observed in the abstract classes, you've got two possibilities. That is, it can have both the methods. You can have abstract methods as well as this one is the non-concrete method, and this one is the abstract method. The method that does not have a body is called as abstract method. and the method that has a body is called as concrete method. So your abstract class, you can have both the concrete as well as abstract methods. But when it comes to interfaces, all the methods declared in an interface are by default abstract. In the interfaces, all the methods that are declared in an interfaces are by default abstract. That is, in the interface, you'll not have any implementation. You will just define it as a prototype. It just gives you the structure. It is a prototype. All the methods that are declared in an interface are by default abstract, and they are static and finite. Let's say you are creating an login interface, new Java interface. I specify this as login. So in the interface, now what I want is for authentication module. Let's say you're developing a web application program. Let me change this. Authentication. So what functionality do you expect in the authentication module? In your authentication module, what functionality do you expect? Okay, it should validate public abstract void validate. Okay, fine. It should validate, that is sign in. Okay, what is the other thing? It should validate your username and then password. Forget password, do you want? Because it comes a part of authentication module only. I don't think it's okay. I'll just resync. Aroma, is the screen visible? I'm on NetBeans IDE. Okay. Do you want forget password feature? Public void forget password. You just provide your alternate email address. It should send you the password. And what else? One more option will be there. Yeah, change password. String your old password and then your new password. New is a keyword, that is the reason it is not permitting you. I'll write string password. So all the methods that are declared in an interface are by default abstract. So if you observe this, all these are abstract methods. Are you providing any implementation code for this? Are you providing any implementation code for these methods? Now, we don't provide any implementation codes for the methods that are declared in an interface. An interface will have only abstract methods and final variables. Public, static, final, integer, maximum attempts. That is, you should be able to log in within 3 attempts, otherwise your account might get blocked. So if you have to declare any variables, the variables declared in an interface are constant. By default, they are constant. They are final. That is, you cannot modify them. That is fixed. By default, they are static and final. You cannot modify them. They are fixed. So maximum number of attempts is equal to 3. And then you will say public static final and block for hours. That is, if your account exceeds the maximum number of login attempts, then your account should be blocked for 24 hours. So an interface will have two things. One is abstract methods and constants. By default, constants, they are static and final, and methods by default, they are abstract. Whether you specify or not, whether you specify a method as abstract or not, by default it is abstract. By default, methods declared in an interface are abstract and variables are static and final, whether you specify or not. Now, this is the specification what I want. This is the requirement to what I want. And if you want to implement this, if you want to provide the code for this, then you have to implement the authentication interface. Let's say my website. This is my website, and then implements authenticate. So when my website is implementing this authentication interface, it should provide the code for validate, it should provide the code for password, and it should provide the code for change password. All the three codes you have to provide. Implement all the methods. So you need to provide the code for all the methods. Anyway, you need to get connected to the database to write this logic. But over here, that is, as a developer, you can decide who decide all this condition. Based on the business requirement, you need to decide that. As a developer, we can decide it based on the business requirement. S out, code for login. Once you step into the database, then you can do this. S out, code for forget password, yet to be implemented. And then code for change password. Clear on this? So that is, when a class is implementing an interface, it should provide the it should provide the implementation code for all the methods that are declared. It should provide the code for all the methods that are declared in an interface. Clear with this? Your website is providing the functionality for the authenticate interface. So in that case, it should provide the code for all the methods that are declared in an interface. Is the logic clear? So interface, it is a standard, it is a protocol. Any doubts with respect to interface? Yes, you can connect to the database, but I think it will take few classes to learn that. You can connect to the database. From here, you need to connect to the database to perform the operations. So any doubts for the today's session? I'll show you how to connect to the database using interfaces, but I think it will take some 2 to 3 classes. So can we wind up for today? I'll try to upload the videos as soon as possible.